The fields of America are still green, the barns still full, and the tractors still running, but for millions of American farmers, it no longer matters. Because overnight, their biggest buyer is gone. China, once the #1 customer for U.S. soybeans, pork, and corn, has slammed the door shut with a shocking 100% tariff. And with that one decision, the foundation of American agriculture has been shattered. The same crops that once brought prosperity are now piling up unsold. Prices are collapsing, debts are rising, and the people who feed America are suddenly facing extinction. This isn't just a bad season. This is a crisis that could change American farming forever. Before we go further, I want to pause and ask you something important. If you believe stories like this, stories about real people being crushed by global politics, need to be told, then make sure you subscribe right now. Hit the like button so more people see this, and drop a comment to share your thoughts. Every bit of support helps us keep producing deep dives into the issues that matter but rarely get explained in full. Now, let's break down exactly what happened, why China's tariffs are destroying America's farms, and why this collapse could have consequences far beyond the cornfields. The breaking point: China's 100% tariff announcement. The shock came without warning. Beijing announced a blanket 100% tariff on U.S. agricultural products, everything from soybeans to wheat, corn to pork, dairy to poultry. For farmers, this was the nuclear option. China had already been gradually reducing its reliance on American agriculture, but this decision was the final nail in the coffin. The market that once consumed nearly $30 billion worth of American farm exports a year has vanished in an instant. To understand how devastating this is, you need to remember that agriculture doesn't run on a flexible schedule. You can't just turn off the planting of soybeans like flipping a switch. Farmers had already planned their crops months ago, already borrowed money to cover seeds, fertilizer, and equipment. They were counting on China's demand to justify their decisions. Now, they're trapped, with massive yields coming in, but no one to buy them. The fallout on U.S. soybean farmers. Soybeans are ground zero in this trade disaster. For decades, U.S. soybeans flowed across the Pacific, feeding China's livestock industry and anchoring America's agricultural economy. At its peak, more than 60% of U.S. soybeans were exported to China. Now, those shipments have been reduced to almost nothing. China has turned instead to Brazil and Argentina, striking long-term contracts that leave American soybeans stranded in silos. The financial hit is brutal. Prices have plummeted, farmers are watching their incomes collapse, and many are being forced to sell at a loss just to keep their farms alive. The anger is raw. For many, this isn't about profits, it's about survival. Pork producers on the brink. If soybeans are the crop crisis, pork is the livestock disaster. China's 100% tariff has cut U.S. pork exports by more than 70%. American pork producers, who invested heavily in building capacity to serve the Chinese market, are now drowning in oversupply. Prices are collapsing in domestic markets, and smaller farms are being squeezed out. The ripple effects are staggering. The U.S. pork industry supports not just farmers, but processors, transporters, and even feed growers. When exports collapse, it's not just farmers who lose jobs, it's entire communities. Packing plants are slowing down, truckers are driving fewer loads, and small-town economies that depend on agriculture are shrinking fast. Corn and wheat, oversupply meets falling prices. Corn and wheat farmers are facing a similar nightmare. With China out of the picture, American silos are filling up at a dangerous pace. Domestic demand can't absorb the surplus, and other foreign buyers can't match China's scale. The result? Prices are falling to levels not seen in decades. For corn farmers, this is especially painful. Many took out loans to upgrade equipment and expand fields, banking on stable Chinese demand. Now, those investments look like anchors pulling them into debt. Wheat growers, already struggling with global competition, are finding themselves priced out of the market entirely. The overproduction trap. Here's the cruel irony: American farmers are producing more than ever, but earning less. This is the overproduction trap. When crops pile up unsold, prices collapse, forcing farmers to sell even more to make ends meet, only to push prices down further. It's a vicious cycle that ends with bankruptcies and foreclosures. We've seen this before. In the 1980s, American farmers went through a debt crisis that wiped out hundreds of thousands of family farms. Today, history may be repeating itself, but on an even larger scale, thanks to globalization and the sheer size of the Chinese market. The human toll, families on the edge. Behind the numbers are real families. Generations of farmers who have worked the same land for decades are now staring at foreclosure notices. Young farmers who thought they were carrying on a proud legacy are instead inheriting crushing debt. Mental health crises in rural America are rising, with suicides among farmers at alarming levels. This isn't just an economic issue, it's a social one. The collapse of farms means the collapse of rural communities. Schools lose funding, hospitals close, small businesses vanish. Entire towns built around agriculture are becoming ghost towns. The ripple effects on American industries. Agriculture doesn't stand alone. The collapse of exports has triggered ripple effects across industries tied to farming. Tractor makers like John Deere are reporting massive layoffs. Seed and fertilizer companies are cutting back. Banks that loaned money to farmers are now facing rising defaults. Rural America's financial ecosystem is unraveling. And this isn't just a rural issue. Urban America is about to feel it too. As farm incomes collapse, the cost of food production shifts. Consumers will soon see shortages of some products, higher prices on others, and an overall instability in the food supply chain. China's power play and America's weak response. Beijing's 100% tariffs are both punishment and strategy, cutting U.S. farmers out while deepening ties with Brazil, Argentina, Russia, and Canada. Washington's answer, more subsidies and bailout checks, rings hollow, because no cash can replace the world's largest customer. In the end, China gains strength while America looks reactive and unprepared. This moment marks a turning point in global trade, where U.S. dominance is no longer guaranteed. For farmers on the ground, it feels less like a policy debate and more like a fight for survival. Global market shifts, Canada, Brazil, and beyond. While U.S. farmers suffer, others are cashing in. Canada has stepped in with multi-billion-dollar farm support packages to help its farmers capture market share. Brazil and Argentina are already expanding production to feed China's demand. Even Russia is looking to carve out a bigger role in global agriculture. This is the brutal reality: once markets shift, they rarely shift back. Even if tariffs were lifted tomorrow, many Chinese buyers might stick with Brazil or Canada, seeing them as more reliable partners. America's reputation as a dependable supplier has been damaged, maybe permanently. Long-term consequences for American agriculture. The big question is, what comes next? Economists warn that the consequences could be long-term and irreversible. If farms go bankrupt, if infrastructure collapses, if communities are hollowed out, you can't just snap your fingers and bring them back. America's dominance in global agriculture, once seen as unshakable, is now under threat. The country that fed the world may soon struggle to feed itself at a competitive price. And in the global race for food security, that loss of power is devastating. Can U.S. agriculture survive? Is there a way out? Some say yes, but it will require radical change. Farmers may need to diversify away from exports and focus more on domestic and regional markets. Investment in sustainable farming, alternative crops, and new trade partners could soften the blow. But all of this takes time, money, and political will, three things that seem in short supply right now. Others fear that this is the beginning of the end for family farms in America. That corporate agribusiness will take over, consolidating what's left and leaving rural America behind. So here we are. America's farmers, once the backbone of the nation and a symbol of self-reliance, are being crushed by forces beyond their control. China's 100% tariffs have not just disrupted trade, they have exposed the fragility of a system built on political gambles and global dependence. The question isn't just whether farmers can survive this season. The question is whether American agriculture, as we know it, can survive at all. If the U.S. loses its role as the world's breadbasket, the consequences will echo for generations. Not just in the fields of Iowa or the barns of Nebraska, but in every kitchen, every grocery store, every table in America. This isn't just about farming, it's about the future of the nation. And so I leave you with this: will America find a way to rebuild trust, repair its trade ties, and save its farmers? Or are we witnessing the end of an era where the world relied on the American farmer? Thank you for watching. If you found this breakdown valuable, please subscribe right now, hit the like button, and share this video so more people can understand what's happening to America's agriculture. And most importantly, let me know what you think in the comments. Do you believe American farming can survive this collapse, or is the damage permanent? Because one thing is certain, the story of America's farmers is far from over, but the next chapter may be the hardest one yet.